afternoon, everybody, once again. And to those who have just joined us, welcome to today's webinar, organized by the Legal Space Department of Malaysian Law Student Network, titled Founders Insights, Setting Up a Law Firm in Malaysia. My name is Kason, and I will be your moderator for today's session. Now, before we begin, a gentle reminder to all the participants that you should kindly turn off your camera and microphone for now to avoid any potential disruptions or technical hiccups to the running of the panel discussion, if that's okay. And in the course of the panel discussion, if you have any questions that you would like to ask, feel free to drop them in the chat box on Zoom, and I'll try my best to address as many questions as possible to the speakers during the Q&A session. Perfect. So to start off, please allow me to briefly introduce first our three esteemed speakers today. But first off, we have Ms. Jamie Wong, the founder of Messieurs Jamie Wong. She has engaged in active legal practice for 12 years with a specific focus in corporate and commercial litigation. Upon completing her bar vocational course at BPP Law School in London, Jamie was called to the English bar in 2007 and subsequently to the Malaysian bar as well. Ms. Jamie has always believed that besides mastering various legal skills, interpersonal skills are equally important for lawyers to pick up, and she pinned it down to the fact that the law, or rather legal practice, slants more towards the arts and humanities rather than hard sciences. So to possess some form of a human touch is crucial to the career of an aspiring legal practitioner. Next up, we have Mr. Harold Tan, who is one of the founding partners of Harold and Lam Partnership. His main areas of practice are commercial and tax dispute resolution, but his portfolio of dispute resolution work goes beyond those areas. He has dealt with cases involving shareholder disputes, corporate restructuring, banking and finance, professional negligence, and many more. Mr. Harold graduated from the University of New South Wales, Australia, with a double degree in laws and accounting. He was then called to the Malaysian bar as an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya in June 2001. And last but not least, we welcome Mr. Wong Man Ho on board with us today. Mr. Man Ho, the managing partner in Man Ho, or MH Law, was admitted as an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya in 2007. He specializes in pre-dispute advisory work, strategic litigation planning, and commercial law advisory matters. He dabbles in practice areas such as litigation work ranging from corporate to employment law. And interestingly, prior to joining legal practice, Mr. Manho was in charge of industrial relation matters in one of the largest automotive players in Malaysia. And it is his subsequent elevation to be the special assistant to the CEO, where he acquired his commercial and business acumen we see today. So we welcome all our speakers once again, and we hope that our participants will reap a great deal of benefits and insights, of course, out of today's panel discussion. So without further ado, we will now move on to the main body of today's session. So I guess we can start off with a question which I believe a lot of our audience are wondering today. What exactly motivated you to open up your own firm? Was this something you've always wanted to do, or was it a thought that you just come across when you're practicing? Maybe I can direct this to Jamie first, to start us off.
Thank you, Kason. It's definitely not the latter, which is it suddenly sparked in my mind, and then, okay, I can go and start up the law firm already. For me, it's more of a challenge. It's inherent in me that I welcome challenges. I always feel that in order to maximize my potential, I have to try and push as much as I can. So I had a plan from the beginning, right? When I was young, I didn't want to end up working for others, in a sense that because in my family we were not very well to do. In fact, we were kind of poor, buying some rulers or pencils, so we had a difficulty in doing so. So to me, at that time in the 1990s, I think we all know that if you set up a business, perhaps you'll be able to make a few big bucks, and if you're lucky, you achieve your financial freedom. But that's not the only motivating, I guess, to me is more so at that time we were from Chinese speaking background, so I never spoke English, and I didn't know how to write or speak or even listen to English channels and all that. So I thought to myself, what would I want to be when I become an adult, or when I had a chance to go overseas to studies. I think that's how I picked lawyer, the legal profession. I thought it's challenging enough for me. It's intellectually stimulating. It's something that will push me to kind of self-learn, since I don't have money to go for English tuition classes. So that's what motivated me. So when I started practicing, or after I got called to the bar after coming back from the UK, I started to observe and learn very much. I worked very, very hard and learn from the seniors and the partners. And that had always been part of my aspiration to start the law firm. So it's more of a pull factor. It's more coming from within myself that I wanted to start. That's all from me.
Thank you, Jamie. What about Harold? Do you share the same sentiment, or do you have a different journey altogether?
Well, setting up a law firm of my own, which I've now done, has not been my original goal. Because the original goal that I had after graduation and starting practice was to ultimately be elevated, become a partner of a law firm. It need not be my own, but at least it will be in a partnership. So at that time, I was actually working with Messrs Screen, one of the largest then and still now one of the most established law firms in Malaysia. Chambering and then continue to practice until a partnership after 14 years. It is only after the 14th year that I decided to set up HRP. And then if you ask me, what was the motivation for me taking the plunge when I was actually already the 14th year with the same firm, I would like to give you an analogy of an elevator versus a lift. While practicing in these large law firms, the culture there was excellent. So you're actually looking at an escalator, a very stable escalator where you know for very well that if you stay on the escalator, one day you will reach the top. But of course, the escalator is slightly slower than the lift. So, but when you go on to and say, okay, I want to set up my own firm, you're actually starting from scratch. And when you enter this particular excavator, this lift, basically you do not even know whether it functions. If it functions well, you'll be shoot up to the top in a much faster rate. But if it does not work, well, you just have to come out of the lift and then find your new escalator. So that was the challenges, and well, that's my personal experience. That's about 6 years ago. So I took the plunge and got into the lift, and that's where I am now.
Thank you, Harold. What about Manho? What made you to go into that lift?
Very different from Jamie and Harold. I do not have intention to set up at all at the beginning. At the beginning, it's still like Harold, one day want to be a partner in a firm. But I really never thought of setting up at all. Then after about 6 years in practice, about 6-7 years in practice, things started to change. The firm has started to change. The firm I was in has started to change. The size of the firms also changing, and also policies as well has changed subsequently. So that made me think whether I want to be part of this or not, or whether this direction of the firm is something I want to be in or not. So, it's a very quick, short period of time. I just think I should not. I want to maybe start out on my own. To a certain extent, I was slightly not happy. So that's the reason why I thought of moving on. I always believe, if you have a lot of complaint, you don't stay. If you stay, you don't complain. So I choose, okay, I do not want to stay. I don't complain. All right, I move on. I need to be very honest. There must be a reason why we move on, especially to set up. And that time, and also, not much choices to us. You can, of course, go in-house. And another possible choice is to set up. So that's why I choose to set up to have my own say. But it started quite late for me after 6-7 years. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Manho. Thank you, everybody. I think Harold just now mentioned something very interesting, right? He mentioned about the elevation from the elevator, the lift, and you mentioned about how you have to start everything from scratch. So I think we can go on and maybe discuss some of the nitty-gritty steps or procedures that you have to go through when you have to set up a law firm in Malaysia. Is it particularly complicated when you are doing it? Maybe I can direct this to Manho first.
You mean the procedures of starting a law firm? Is that what you mean, cousin?
Yes, that's right.
Actually, I feel if you ask me, it has been 8 years ago. I don't really remember, honestly. But I remember something that is very simple. I remember this first letter without letterhead from myself, signing given to the bar council, telling the bar council that I want to set up, and this is my name and this is my address. And I think about 48 hours subsequently, I received the letter from bar council, confirmed you're allowed to open, and that's it. It's so simple in terms of setting up law firm in Malaysia. It's that simple. But of course, I think internally, if you have a partner, you must have to prepare partnership agreement, and you have to look for places. You have to set up accounts, how your account to be, and things like that. So these are the things that subsequently you have to follow. But in terms of setting up procedures, I think basically that's it. It's that simple, if I remember correctly.
Thank you for jogging your memory for us, Mr. Manho. What about Jamie? Do you share the same experience?
Experience, I probably differ slightly from that of Manho. Yes, it's true that now that we've come to 8 or 7 years in since we have established your own firm, a lot of the nitty-gritty have already been wiped out of our memory. But I do remember writing into the bar council and get the approval to set up your law firm. And those days, I mean, okay, it's not too long ago. Again, I have to remind myself, but bar council it responded quite quickly. Like you say, 48 hours, you are allowed, as long as you put down the details, right? First of all, the name of the firm, the partner, the constitution of the firm, your phone number, your contact details, and address. So that's the first step. Of course, whatever that happened after that really depends on your plan and how grand you want it to be, or how simple you want your firm to start. So it's really, let's say, and the capital, how much money you have to spend, right? It all depends. If you want to set up a proper one, it depends on how you see your firm to start off as, right? Then you have to go and purchase furniture. You have to set up a bank account. You have to follow a set of. Do you want to have staff? Do you need any accountants to kind of give you a plan beforehand? So it all depends on your plans. Like I said, well, in legal practice, it's more like a free market, like a private practice, and it's very, very much different from, I mean, it's somewhat different from setting up a Sdn Bhd, because then there you have a list of administrative procedure. You need a company secretary to, kind of advise you how to set up a company. So as for law firms, as long as you have obtained your certificate, practicing certificate, or you're a fully qualified advocate and solicitor, you are eligible to start up a law firm. The question is, like, of course, all the students will ask is when, how do I decide when to start up? So that's.
Thanks, Jamie. I think you mentioned a very good point in terms of how law students, they always ponder upon when is the best time to start. So maybe we can talk a little bit about how there's this stereotype going on right, around the market saying, oh, you have to practice for a certain number of years before you can establish your own firm. Would you say that this is a fair assumption? Maybe Harold, do you want to take this question?
Certainly, 100%. For me, I think even the ideal number of years of post-graduation experience that before setting up must at least be 3 to 4 years. It is most important when any junior lawyers even contemplate setting up. He or she would certainly need to learn the tools of the trade. So that at the very least, he or she does not get into trouble of being negligent in carrying out their work. So that is most important. And if you do not even have 3 to 4 years of practical experience, I very doubt that the lawyer will be able to bring in sufficient work to generate sufficient income to maintain and to continue and to ensure that the law firm flourish. So to me, at least 3 to 4 years of practical experience before even thinking of setting.
Thanks, Harold. I saw Jamie nodding her head. Jamie, do you want to chip in and add on to what Harold has said?
In fact, Harold, I was thinking at least 5 years. Even for me, I'm a slow learner myself, and I started at my 5th year. But I thought there's still so many things to learn. As we progress, even till today, there's so many things to learn. I think you're being modest to say 3, 4 years.
It took me 14 years, Jamie. It took me 14 years.
Yes, I think it's very, very true what Harold said. We are professional, right? We are not labor staff, labor worker, where you can just jump on to a bandwagon or you can just start a business. If it fails, it fails. It's more the responsibility and the possible liability, the exposure to liability that you'll be facing, right? We talk about professional negligence and all that. The consequences is something that you need to take into account as a professional. Hence, it is very, very, very important that you master the legal skills first. Master what you are set up to do to begin with, even from a law student's perspective. Yeah, that's what I.
Thanks, Jamie. What about Manho? Do you share the same sentiment?
I would say 4 to 6 years. I think that's average. Maybe our time. I set up about 8 years ago. About 6, 7 years is a good time. Is a good timing. I would think it will become shorter, right? But I think no matter how short it is, 3 to 4 years must be the minimum. And why I said it becomes shorter. Say, for example, things that we learn during our time, okay? For example, doing some research. Last time, maybe we need 5 hours to do some research, going through the books, textbooks, case law. Now, just certain clicks, from the internet, you can find the answers very, very fast, right? Actually, same thing goes to a lot of information findings and learning. A lot of time has been reduced, right? So I believe certain timing to learn has also cut short. So I believe in the future, maybe, it can be shorter, 4 years. But for now, I still feel that, it has to be at least 4 years up and above. Yeah.
Right. Manho, I think it's very interesting that you mentioned about how the legal industry during your time is very much different from nowadays, right? So knowing that, we know that the legal market nowadays, it has been becoming more competitive day by day with all law firms, big or small, mushrooming across the nation. And they seem to sort of target the same audience or same group of clients. So we were wondering, how do you sort of distinguish yourself from the rest of the bunch so that you remain competitive in this market? Maybe Manho, do you want to continue with your speech?
Sure. Yeah, you're right. I think it's getting more and more competitive. I think recently, on Monday or Tuesday, Bar Council actually now allows virtual office. So it can only create more competitions among lawyers, definitely. Now it's very, I would say, with limited expenses and all that, then you can actually start up a law firm. So yeah, it's definitely more competitive. And how do we differentiate ourselves? I think we have different target market to begin with. Like for example, even Jamie, Harold, we all maybe have the same practice the same area like commercial lead, litigation, and things like that. But still, we have very different market. For example, maybe Harold, he will have clients from a listed company. For me personally, I will have a lot of mom and pops clients. So first of all, it's the target market. You must know your target market. I think that's the first one. Second thing is, I think the problem we always face as a lawyer, we always lose the opportunity to work with certain potential clients due to the client willingness to pay, right? They would think that all legal services are the same, from all the lawyers are the same. Why I pay 10,000 more? Why I pay 5,000 extra with this particular lawyer? So in terms of that, I think how we actually differentiate ourselves. So sometimes we try to educate client. That is very, very dangerous to believe that all legal services are the same. All lawyers are the same. So these are the things that we try to develop in terms of educating client. I think also one very important thing is to actually create niche services, not just niche practice areas. Okay, for example, now Harold is going into tax, which is something not a lot of people are doing. That is a niche practice area. What I'm talking about here, niche services, actually is legal related, but it's not a practice area. For example, like us, we actually over the years we developed into helping clients in managing crisis using our experience and network. So these are the things that I think we have to find to create a different niche market, a blue ocean, so to speak. Yeah, thanks, Kasim.
Thank you, Manho. Maybe Harold, do you want to chip in and talk about your views on this, or would you agree with Manho?
Yeah, definitely. We in order to maintain and continue with the success of the firm, we have always to be very creative. We have to keep on changing and catching up with time. Then we have to remain relevant and competitive. So for my side, my firm side, basically what we did was that my HLP is basically mainly focused on dispute resolution. So over the years, we wanted to bring in and try to expand our capabilities of providing corporate conveyancing, banking type of services. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to bring in. You can't just overnight generate the expertise and the resources required to provide that type of service. But we believe that in order to maintain and sustain the firm long term, our strategy had been grow. We wanted to grow. We wanted to grow to the extent of being a full service firm. So recently, since last year, end of 2020, HLP has actually entered into a strategic alliance, former strategic alliance with another law firm who is a specialist in real estate and corporate work. And then called Halim Hong and Kwek. So by the combined resources, we will be able to cross-refer clients and we'll be able to market ourselves as a full service type of entity with a combined resources of the firms together will be about 50 over lawyers with another 100 staff. So that's one of the strategies that we have adopted to remain relevant and competitive in the industry.
I see. What about Jamie? Apart from being relevant and catching up with times, are there any other setbacks or challenges that you've faced when you're founding the firm or when you're managing the firm throughout these years?
Before I start, I think it's very important. I've heard from Manho's perspective and Harold's perspective as to how to stand out, is expanding its growth and remain relevant, keep up with the time. If anything I could add on, perhaps before I answer your question on the challenges, perhaps there are two things on my mind. I would say the increased use of technology, because for legal profession, our income is based on our productivity, right? And productivity, depending on how much time you put on it, of course, besides your brilliance, right? So if we are able to save more time by adopting, all this technology that helps with general administrative work or some of the basic legal work, then we'll be able to focus on a lot of actual legal work. Secondly, I would think to focus on personal relationships to help you to stand out from others, because I think when it comes to hiring lawyer, or from the general public perspective, the word of mouth is always more impressive than let's say you see see a poster of a lawyer on the internet. I think if you have a personal referrals or personal recommendation from your existing client, that will bring in more files, more new briefs, that's on that. I would say that it's perhaps personal branding and marketing that's also something to look into. I'm not saying is the most important, but like I said, to stand out, you need to take into consideration a lot of things, but not to forget who you are. Actually, every individual is so different, so you must focus on your inner strength and focus on what you're good at, or what makes you special. Not so much of everybody is doing that, so I'm going to try and do that. Everybody is doing this, so I'm going to try and do this. That will only make you a follower rather than someone who stand out. So challenges in terms of during starting up or maintaining the firm. These are two very broad and different topics altogether.
But maybe Jamie, you can talk about both if you want, but you can, yeah. Okay, maybe let's talk about during your journey of setting up a firm. Yeah, what challenges have you faced?
Okay. Thank you, Kason. As a start, like I said, I really have almost no resources, no financial support when I started. So the challenges for me was like in Chinese, we call it the one-leg cake, right? So you have to be your own dispatch boy, photocopier, reading up emails, picking up calls, go to courts, and meeting clients until late at night. And then you start to draft your cost papers or legal documents at 12 a.m. in the morning, and then you have to bind your own bundles and file it in court the next morning before 8 o'clock, because by 8:30 you're going to be in court to attend some hearings. But lucky for me, I have my parents to help me out, and sometimes my mom would even stay back in the office. Those days I had one bare unit, right, small place, and my mom would sit there and wait for me to finish my drafting and help me to bind documents until 2-3 a.m. sometimes. I'm not saying every day. So I find it quite challenging, but at the same time, I feel that, okay, I have to look on the bright side, right? I have this bond with my mom. Sometimes I scolded her because of some mistakes of putting letters in the wrong envelope and all that. But this is a life journey, right? So yeah, I have to, let's say, deliver documents. I have to do all sorts of things, and I calculated maybe 10-20% of the time. So as a sole proprietor for myself, I have to divide my time. As compared to in the past, I can just put 100% of my office hours or time on pure legal work, right? As a partner or a sole proprietor of the firm, you have to divide your attention and time maybe tenfolds, or maybe 5 if I'm exaggerating a bit too much. Finance side, planning side, client management side, legal work, not only that, research and administrative work. There are a lot of administrative work. As you grow, we have additional staff and associates, and there is where the challenge starts, because everybody has their own mind, right? So you have to manage the people in the firm, and at the same time, without deviating from your own vision, right? Long-term vision, the long-term goal. What do you want the firm to be? And you want everybody to grow together with the firm, or vice versa. What sort of culture in the values and principles, and it's the most challenging thing is to get everyone to share the same direction or value as time goes by. It's like people change, right? People face different things. So say, for example, during the pandemic, a lot of things change. We also change our perspective. We also change our views, or our worldview, and our thinking of, oh, what have I been doing? Why am I doing this now? Okay, I'm going to do something else now. I'm going to do, change my path, both career-wise and life path. So the most challenging thing would be this, to maintain the same drive, to maintain the people to be aligned with you all throughout, because setting up a firm is part of your life, is for as long as it can stand, right? And collaboration, yes, it's also very, very important, like Harold said. So recently, we have also I've always been collaborating with both senior counsel to the most senior and prominent counsel, to collaborating with other firms. Some solicitors firm even engages as counsel to take on the counsel role. As for tapping into new area, it doesn't mean that if you didn't have the experience, you cannot go and practice in that area. You can always learn from your associate firms, your firm that you can collaborate with. For example, right now, I am learning from a firm called Chu Diwei, who's kind of practice a lot of divorce cases, right? So we will share resources and learn from each other at the same time. As for myself, we do dispute resolution, arbitration, commercial and corporate litigation, and at the same time we can also, kind of share with the other firm whom you choose to collaborate with. So that's one way of looking at it, I think.
Thank you, Jamie. Maybe I can direct the next question to Manho. So building on Jamie's point about how maintaining the same drive as you've started your founder journey is extremely challenging. So how do you usually cope with this particular challenge? How do you maintain that same drive throughout your journey as founder thus far?
How do I maintain? This is a very, very difficult question, in the sense that you can't question yourself too much when you do this. Then you start to, have more questions to answer. But personally, how do I maintain the drive? I think to begin with, you need to really have the passion in practice. If not, I think that's the first hurdle you won't be able to go through. As we know, practicing law is such a difficult thing in life. I mean, compared to a lot of professions, I think this is one of the most difficult ones. Simply because I think the practice itself, we are dealing with people. We are dealing with human beings. We have to deal with the judge as a litigator. We have to deal with clients. We have to deal with people in the office, deal with partners, everybody, your lawyers, the younger generation as well. So in order to maintain that, I think you have to keep your passion going. You have to always find ways to make yourself relevant and continue to learn from others as well. Okay, I think whatever things that's happening today, as Jamie, I think at the beginning, Jamie has said, and also Harold has said, you all did a good job. This actually can motivate us to go further. I think things like that is very important. People around us, our peers, like Harold was my opponent. That's how I get to know Harold. So these are the people, when sometimes we meet each other in court. Of course, now we don't have the chance to do that anymore. We talk about how are things going, how are practice, how's your case going. These are the things that actually really keep us going. the comradeship, I will put it that way. So passion, comradeship, I think both are very important to keep yourself going. Of course, I think the third thing, the motivation is the life that you want. Ultimately, we all making a living here, right? Setting up firm is something that you can actually build around the life that you want. I think especially when you start on your own, you build based on the direction that you want, you set your own policy. Ultimately, that is the goal, and that's what you want to achieve. I think ultimately this is the most important thing. The motivation is to achieve what you want. Yeah.
Thanks, Manho. So Manho, you mentioned about being able to set your own direction and your own goal, right, in the long run, so that sort of keeps you going because you know that that is something that you want to achieve at the end of the day. So I was just wondering, maybe Harold can answer this question. Are there any perks or highlights or in your founder career that you really think, oh, this is something that I want to achieve more and more, going forward in the future?
Well, first of all, I actually enjoy practicing very much. So I'm most glad that I've actually found the job that I really like. So there's actually not much of a problem of being motivated to continue with what I'm doing. And well, when you talk about perks, well, I reckon that if you are able to do well in legal practice, you will be able to live a rather comfortable life. So that's like you said, like what Manu have been saying. This is part of our life. This is our job. This is part of our life. We build our career around our life, and and it's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile career for, at least for myself.
Thanks, Harold. What about Jamie? What do you think about this?
Perks. I only know that your responsibility is expanded, just like the Spider-Man's role, right? The more you what do you call it? The more you want to help, the more responsibility you have. That's
great powers come with great responsibility, Jamie.
With great powers come with great responsibility, but on the other hand, with more responsibility comes power as well. So it depends on whether really is your thing. I think running your own firm is not everybody's. It's not everybody's thing. I have friends who has been partner for almost 15 years, and then they came out to start at their 20th years, right? And they sometimes wonder whether is it really what they want. It's not for everybody. That's one you need to know. Perks for me personally, I think it's more autonomy, as just what Manho said, and any, just like any young lawyers would envision, would envisage that they want more say in handling the file. They have their own opinions. They think that they are right, and the seniors were thinking, they shut them down straight away. So they feel not very supported, right? Not very encouraged, or their work is not appreciated. The other thing that came to my mind, sorry, I'm a bit random here, but I think it's don't fall for the peers pressure. Some people do it because they just wanted to reduce the peers pressure. We are in an entrepreneurial era, yes, for sure, but we also know, just like what the other day we were having, I was having a meeting with my associates, and I was saying that, okay, could anyone tell me what's happening here? There are more and more young lawyers coming out, setting up. What's going on in their mind? Of course, there are two factors. One is inherent. Those who have already have the ambition since the beginning. For example, like myself, when I was studying already, I was thinking to myself, okay, by this year, I wanted to start up. I wanted to do this. I want to do that. Some just because they are not happy at all, or suddenly certain things change and they wanted to start. There are many reasons. For me, you will derive the best benefit advantage if you know what you're doing and you enjoy what you're doing. For me, I really enjoy the learning experience, the exposure being a partner or a sole proprietor myself, I get to be, I sometimes it's like being thrown into an open sea, right? For me, I have to go through a lot of challenges, have to face a lot of really out of your control kind of situations, and I enjoy that. As long as I don't die, it's a matter of like pushing the limit, see how much you survive. So those are the things, and also the ability to meet potential clients and meet as many people as possible, whether it's corporate personnel, your fellow members of the bars. The key is really the ability. The key is really to be able to reach out in this day and time. I think that's very important. For me, I'm generally a person. People person, in a sense that you see that how I couldn't help it but to make noise in front of the screen when there is this awkward silence. I feel that it's ridiculous. What happened to the old time sentiment? We meet face to face. You look at your body language. We can observe how you feel on the screen. There's no such thing. So I'm trying to adapt and get into this as well. So these are things you get to learn from the young ones, right? The juniors, the ones who are very, very well versed with technology. They say, hey boss, click on that. Where is that stupid button? Oh, on the top right. Why are they all over the screen? I said, why can't they put everything in it? But that's how interesting it is. So these are the perks when you're your own employee. Let's say you're your own boss, and then you have young pupils or even interns come to you. You can learn from them. So these are the perks, I would say.
Thanks, Jamie. I think it's very interesting that you brought up virtual meetings and how we are currently talking over Zoom in front of a screen. So I think it's timely that we talk about how the COVID-19 pandemic has really impacted on the legal industry as a whole, right? So on a curious note, how do your firms really deal with this pandemic, and how do you overcome the challenges, which I believe is increasing during this day and age? Maybe Harold can take this question first.
Well, when the pandemics first kicked in and the MCO, way back in March last year, the courts basically shut down. So when the court shut down, then litigation basically came to a stop. And without hearings, we as litigators, dispute resolution lawyers, basically would have basically lost an important stream of our income. So that was very, very worrying at that time. Of course, then the initial strategies was basically to cut costs, to try to defer salaries, etc. But we were all lucky because the court started operations not too long after by adopting technology to conduct hearings online, which the online hearings are still being carried out even until now. And of course, during the initial stages, we were all lawyers, judges. The courts were all very new to for example, Zoom. We never heard of Zoom until the MCO. So and now I think everyone is an expert in screen share now. So that was one of the things that new things that we learned, adopting technology to make things better.
Right, thanks, Harold. What about Manho? What's your experience throughout this pandemic?
I think as Harold has put it, we are quite worried as well. I think for sure we are affected simply because the court was closed at that time. Even subsequently, even the court has opened and hearing has go on, things like that. Ultimately we are running a business. Collection is also a problem because clients are affected as well. So that goes to affect cash flow of people running firms like us, especially if you have an office, you have lawyers as well, you have staff, things like that. You would just have to manage it properly, because I think a lot of businesses close down simply because not because they are not doing well. It's just because they cannot handle the cash flow problem. So to me, how we can actually manage it is really to be very careful with the cash flow. Ultimately, moving forward, I feel the worst has not come yet, even to legal profession. Personally, I feel. And in general, things are getting worse. It's not going to getting better in the next 1 or 2 years, I feel. Okay. So I believe the legal profession cannot stay like this. The way we practice, the way of rerunning the firm, the model that we are in, I don't think so. So honestly, I'm thinking about ways, for example, like what Harold has already done with other firms, forming strategic partnership and all that. Personally, I'm thinking how to deal with the situation is also to consolidate resources with other lawyers as well. But of course, in detail, this has certain hurdles, legal hurdles as well as practical hurdles as well. But these are the things that we are looking into, right? Focusing on business relationship, co-branding exercise, and consolidate resources. Yeah.
Thanks, Manho. What about Jamie? Can you chime in and tell us a little bit about how your firm has been coping through the COVID-19 pandemic?
For me, I think if anybody were to really start at one point, right, it's really to build a reserve, build a money for the rainy days, right? So for me, it has sipped into that reserves after working like 7 years. So I think for me, it's still manageable. But at the same time, like Manho and Harold say, you have to manage your cash flow, meaning to say reduce on your overhead and expenditure or your expenses. Of course, there are certain things that you can't really run away from. For example, you committed to the rental or committed to paying for purchase of properties for your office in the past, and now this is you get slapped by this circumstances. And you have to think of ways to do it. Joining resources is definitely a way that we think about. It helps to also make lawyers generally to understand working in collaborative manner, having a joint effort, sharing a similar goal to overcome this situation is important among the lawyers. And well, other than that, I think you just need to keep a positive mind. This is where your willpower comes into place, right? When all things are good, nice, well, and good and dandy, and you won't really need to stretch your mind and stretch your energy and effort to think about how to overcome all these challenges. So you do need to have that willpower and persist and persevere. So yeah, that's how, and also to communicate it to the members of the firm, to make them understand, to try and communicate what sort of concerns and worries you have, so that they will help at least to give you the moral support. I think in times like this, you really need the support from the people around you or the people that you see every day at work. So yeah, that's something that we're doing.
Thanks, Jamie. I think since we are already on the topic of managing cash flows and accounts and stuff, maybe I can just bring up one of the Q&As that are by the participants in the audience. So Zul Elmi Yunus asked, how do you guys manage your administration and account of the firm? How do you handle like these day-to-day tasks? Maybe Jamie, do you want to take this question first?
Okay, for me personally, I am quite, I am sort of a micromanager. I enjoy doing administrative work. I want to be very meticulous when it comes to money matters. First rule of thumb is never to use the money that is not yours. That's the thing that I keep repeating to all the students or even the chamber pupils in all of the seminars and webinars. Owning your firm, you may have the power over money matters, but at the same time, never to touch something that is not already yours, never to borrow from the clients, and so on and so forth. So that's first rule. Number two is you can't run away from depending on the transaction number of transactions, you can't run away from keeping a good, healthy spreadsheet, right? The balancing of your accounts, you always have to keep a watch on the dollar, every single cent that comes in and go out of the office. So if you do this consistently and regularly, then in the future, the likelihood of you being exposed or making a mistake which will cost you years to try and regularize, cost you a lot more money to try and reconcile your accounts. I think it's more worthwhile to spend a bit of a bit more time to consistently keep your balance sheet healthy and consistent. Then administration, I think so we have talks, right, among the lawyers that some of the firms, there are remarks saying that, hey, not so well managed lah, or the partners don't like to do administrative work because it's, first of all, time consuming, number two, laborious and boring as hell, my language. It's like, you know, a lot of the lawyers, especially legal counsel, those really good lawyers, they will be like, why am I wasting my time on all these things? But I say it's something that you can't run away from, because if something is not, if a firm is dead without the people going in and manage it, so you can't run away from it. This is an additional responsibility that you have to be willing and prepared to put your time and energy and effort in doing. So administration is maybe brainless to a certain extent, but if you do it in a creative way, perhaps it will yield more benefits. So that's one way. So administration, it depends on how anal you are, right? For me, I am an OCD person, so even working with me, it's not easy. It's like every single little details have to be accurate and correct, and not to misrepresent, and so on and so forth. Same goes to administration. You know, the name of the staff cannot have one L less or one R more. It's as simple as that. So it goes to the quality and standard. So if you have that kind of personality and you identify it to be, you will naturally want to spend more time on managing, on coping with the administrative work. If you can't do it during the weekday, you come back during the weekends and settle it. I think, yeah, you have to do it. There's no way of running away from it, unless you have a partner who does only administration job, HR work, and managing clients. They are point person, they don't do legal work. So it's the makeup of the firm that you decide how you want it to be.
Thanks, Jamie. What about Harold? What's your take on managing and handling administration and accounts?
I'm fortunate enough for having a slightly larger setup. So basically, it makes sense for me to hire managers. So we do have an admin and HR manager, as well as an accounts manager. So as partners, I manage the managers. So it saves a lot of my managing time. But the reality is this. Of course, as partners, as owners of the business, you need to put your personal attention to the running of the firm. So accounts, it's very important. So two of my more senior partners at my firm actually manages the account side of things, and we then have another partners who form the ExCo committee of the firm, who are basically in charge of managing the administrative part and HR part of the firm. So in that way, and then all the four major partners will have regular meetings and we discuss things, and then we make firm-wide decisions on policies and how to manage, how to manage the firm as a whole. So that's how my firm has been doing it. So I reckon that it's very important to have this a particular setup that you are comfortable with, and you don't basically don't be discouraged, like, having to look at accounts and look at admin work, instead of actually focusing more of your time towards doing lawyering work, because that's where we earn our money.
Right, thanks, Harold. What about you, Manho? How is your firm? Are your firm dealing with this differently, or is it similar to that of Ms. Jamie and Mr. Harold?
It's slightly different. I think just now during the introduction, you had mentioned that I actually work in one corporate company. I think that's the place that I actually learn a lot how to run a business. I think lawyers always run business in certain model, right? But running a business in a different, like a corporate world and all that, is actually a totally different ballgame altogether. So of course, right from the beginning, the first thing, most important thing, finances and also accounts. We already knew that this is something very important. We cannot take it lightly because it involves our clients' money as well. So we really take care of that. We hire an external party to deal with our accounts. But also, the problem is subsequently things grow, things has developed. We feel that this is not the best way moving forward. Of course, subsequently the firm has grown as well. So we, in the corporate world, in the corporate company, we always knew that there are two ways of looking at different divisions, right? The first is the profit center, which is in our context lawyers, right? The other one is cost center, right? That include accounts, HR, and things like that, administration as well. So because if, let's say, I hire a HR manager, an account manager, or finance manager, right, it will add up to my cost. It becomes my cost center. How we actually subsequently try to twist it is that we actually set up a company, right, to do our bookkeeping, HR, and also finances and accounts, right? So that company, of course, we have to pay that company, right? And in turn, that company making a profit from us, right? So and that company can also provide services to other companies or law firm as well, and which they did. I think that is how subsequently things develop, and you know, we do not have so-called in-house administration work or workers. We have a company running that. So that's how we do it. Yeah.
Right, thanks, Manho. So since we're already on the topic of running a business, maybe it's also good that we address this next participant's question, Mr. Sundara Devan, or Miss Sundara Devan, sorry. So he or she wants to know your opinions and views on looking for clients and expanding clientele networks. Would Manho want to take this question first?
Sure. I think I do not know about Jamie and Harold. I have huge problem looking for clients right from the beginning. I have no business network at the beginning, and as I said, I never thought of setting up a law firm. So when I came out, the first thing, most important thing, is to survive. So have to look for businesses and clients. So I think throughout the years, the experience told us that, you know, how we're going to do it is, as at the beginning, right? The problem is because we are new, comparatively we are younger, we are not so established in the market. We will have problem acquiring client. But you know, the important thing is to expose yourself to the market, let market know about you. I think that is the most important thing. Writing articles, you know, giving interviews and things like that are very important at the beginning. Okay, but that doesn't give you. I don't think it will actually help you to give you a lot of clients based on the effort of doing those things. I believe how you actually can get client up from business development, in the sense that you create strategic relationship with your business partners, right? I think also Jamie has mentioned about word of mouth is very important. We work very closely with a lot of lawyers as well. And then people knew how your work is. I think that's the most important thing. One of the most important thing is always the best marketing tools are your quality of your work. Okay, so that goes without saying. As a lawyer, you must have very good quality in your work. Then subsequently, the work will come.
I see. Thanks, Mr. Manho. What about Harold? Do you have a different take on this?
Well, my major source of work and clientele is basically from referrals. So for existing clients who refers new people, their friends to us, that is one way of us getting new work. And of course, in order to do that, the existing client or their friends must be comfortable with introducing you to their contacts. That's number one. And then the second point that I think, and I just give an example of a true scenario of how I actually got some lucrative work, is that when you go on a market, and of course you want to meet people, you want to get people to know that you are a lawyer and you provide this type of lawyering service, right? But do not hard sell, you being a lawyer, please give me work. You don't do it that way, right? You just meet up with this friend, and just chit chat, and then by the way, this is what I do, and then you just move on, and hopefully sometime in the future, that this particular person that you have met will remember, oh, that Harold is a lawyer, so I have this one, but why don't I give him a call? Right? That will give you a lead. Okay, and one very good example is that there's one that, of course, I know a particular person, and then I suddenly have a new acquaintance with someone I've known for the very first time, and he's doing a particular project about rail train equipment services. So then that thought became as a thought that, okay, this type of services by this new acquaintance that I've made may be relevant to this particular clients of mine, who is actually in the construction industry or building, trains and whatever, not the tracks. So I just gave them a call, and then I put them together, and then I paid for the lunch for them. Then we had a great chat, and then basically they became friends, and possibly not. Of course, in that scenario, they did not contract and do business together because it wasn't suitable. But what happened after that is that I've gotten the leads already. So because of my goodwill, the things that I thought that if I match them together, they would basically benefit. And then because of the goodwill, they actually thought of me when they require legal services. So then from there, I got new work from them. So that's one real life example of how you can actually get the clients and real work. Okay. Don't hard sell.
Thanks, Harold, for that insightful advice. What about Jamie? Would you concur with Manho and Harold?
Yes, all that have been said by Manho and both Manho and Harold resonates with me. I can't emphasize enough on the quality of your legal work, right? Because if you really put your heart and soul in your work and you do well and you show that you're committed, right? Naturally, there will people who will remember you, even if it means 8 years down the line. I say 8 years is simply because recently, just last year, I got a call from a client from where I used to practice as a lawyer, and he said, "Hey, I have this couple who are entrepreneur. They set up their new brand. It has shot up into the sky. It's really doing really well, but they have this corporate issue. Can you look into it and handle it?" I was thinking to myself, 8 years, you have it's a sense of accomplishment as well, like a sense of achievement where, okay, 8 years of hard work, people remember you. So it's a good thing, and you must always remember, give out good work, regardless of how much you're paid in a sense that the quality and standard of an advocate solicitor cannot be compromised just because how much it is valued at by others, right? Then the other thing would be, I think networking, meeting people. I used to think that would be one of the main and most important thing, which is to network, meet more people. To me, there's no problem, because I like to learn from learn from people. I like to have a good, proper conversation. And where do you draw the line? I would say that networking is not about the numbers. It's about the ability to connect and the ability to see who are your target audience, for example, your target potential clients and whatnot. And bearing in mind, you're not going out there to sell. You in a way, yes, you're selling a product. The product is your legal services, but if you overdo it, nobody will think that you have a core in integrity, in a sense, because you're a profession. So networking comes with the ability to connect and goodwill as well. Yes, all this translates into a lot of effort and time, and you mustn't be, like Harold said, discouraged from doing all these things. In the end of the day, you must also enjoy it, enjoy what you're doing, and retain the passion, right? It's like keeping the fire burning. It's not easy, but you still have to go and try to find woods, try to cut, if it means that you have to go into the forest to bring the wood back to keep the fire burning. Yes, that's what we, I don't know if Mano has the same imagination, but it's just thinking, keeping the fire burning. And another thing is, you need to project your enthusiastic, you need to project that you are interested in the legal problems. You need to be able to empathize and sympathize. You need to be able to communicate well, whether you like it or not. Sometimes you have to try and look to the perspectives of your potential clients, or whoever who you are interacting with. So yeah, those are the core things that you need to know in terms of building clientele.
Thanks, Jamie, for that answer. I can see that the time is overrunning a little bit, and there are still some remaining questions from Dorcas and Adnan, but don't worry. We'll have a networking session where Dorcas and Anna, you can ask the speakers personally later on. So we wouldn't want to take up too much time for the webinar session, but maybe one final question from me, then we can end this session, is that what sort of advice would you give to aspiring law students or practicing lawyers, perhaps, who have plans to open up a law firm in the future in Malaysia? Maybe Jamie can take this question first.
For me, it's more on the planning. There's no such thing as you are too early in planning. Do your planning, observe, try to gauge as much as possible what the market needs and what it will be needing in the future. The structure, I think all aspects of running the firm, right? And practice areas as well. That one is more, I think, from yourself. I see some question asking about environmental law and medical law. I don't practice in these areas, but if it's something that you truly are passionate about, you truly like, and that's where you start to expand on learning more and specializing, and naturally there will be the bridge will it will come to that, and then it will happen. Everything will fall into place. So yeah, that's what. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. What about Harold?
Well, I think planning is important. You should have a 5 years plan. Now, for law students who aspires to in the future open up their own law firm as a founder of a firm, give yourself a five years. And within this particular 5 years, well, you basically do whatever you can in order to ensure that the firm that you're going to set up in 5 years' time is going to succeed. So what are the things that you need to look at? at the very least, you need to build your skills. And at the same time, you need to basically distinguish yourself from amongst your peers. No point setting up a firm and basically everyone is, you are just one of the thousands, right? You would want to, in the 5 years' time, be able to be distinguished already and people actually know you, cousin, right? And how do you do that? So I've been speaking to, one of my former pupils. And he's basically very talented in writing. So I told him, this is your talent. So you make full use of the talent in writing. And then, through that, you will be able to basically improve your experience, your skills, legal skills. And also while writing, you published it in LinkedIn, which he is doing now. He writes about 3 to 4 articles and publish it in his LinkedIn page every week. So by doing that, I find it to be an excellent way of preparing himself to be a successful lawyer in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years' time. All right, I encourage everyone, all participants here, to basically join Mr. Bong Jun Ting on LinkedIn. Have a look at how he's doing it. And, if you are able to do that, that is one of the ways for you to plan within this 5 years and then only consider opening. Okay.
Right. Thanks, Harold. Thank you so much. What about Manho on this?
Yeah, I think both Jamie and Harold has put it very rightly. Planning is very important. Don't rush into it. I think that's very important. Rather late than sorry. You do not have the set skills. But on top of that, I believe besides the legal set skills, I believe there are the few other things that you have to learn. I always believe running a firm, there are 3 important things to take care of. All right. The first thing, legal skills, right? Lawyering. That one goes without saying. As a lawyer, you must have the basic. Second thing is management and business administration. How you manage people, how you manage account, finance, and also the running of the firm, operational wise. And the third thing is how do you acquire client and doing business development. You have to plan all these 3 in order to excel in running a firm, I believe. Okay. And one very important thing is a lot of people, they do not understand there's a difference between finance and account. I think learning a finance logic is very important. Account went into the nitty-gritty, how the numbers going, but finance concept is very important. That only you can build the firm further and go further. And I think the last thing is we always say work smart, not hard. But running a law firm, you must be prepared to work hard and work smart as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Manu, for leaving us with that insightful quote. So that's the end of our panel discussion and the Q&A session thus far. And I just want to express my deepest gratitude once again on behalf of MSN to Manho, to Harold, and to Jamie today. Thank you so much for being willing to pull out time of your busy schedules to attend our webinar and share with our participants your journey and experience in setting up a law firm in Malaysia. We hope that you guys have enjoyed the panel discussion and that all our participants have learned a thing or two out of this webinar session.